y'all, the talking's almost over with, but the work is not. We have got to get the vote out on Tuesday. We've got one day. We have held our own in early voting. Our people have been chopping a lot of wood out there. We got to have a big turnout on Tuesday. And if we do, we're going to take our country back and we're going to keep our state moving in the right direction. But we have got to get our folks to the polls. And if we do that, we'll keep our state, like I said, moving in the right direction. The reason that we've been moving in that direction is because we have been saying no to Stacey Abrams. We said no to her when she wanted to keep our economy locked down and criticized me for not doing so during the whole pandemic. For being the first governor in the country to open small sectors that we asked to pause for a little bit to help us stop the spread and flatten the curve and build hospital bed capacity and so on. And even though I took grief from the national media, high-profile politicians like her on both sides of the aisle, the healthcare pundits, the Atlanta media, and a lot of other people, I wasn't listening to them because I was listening to you. When we had the old bus parked here in 2018, that's what I told you I'd do. I told you I'd put you first ahead of the status quo and the politically correct. And that's who we were listening to. Because Marty and I, small business people for over 35 years, we've been in the same place a lot of other Georgians were then. Worried about your job. Couldn't get a paycheck because you couldn't go to work, or you didn't have any work. You're worried about losing your home, worried about losing your car, worried about losing your business or the opportunity that makes an income for you to provide for you and your family. That is a bad feeling. And I've had that more than once in my 30-year business career. And that's why we did what we did, because we were fighting for you. I tell people all the time, a reporter asked me the question, what's your closing message to Georgians? And I said, you go back and look over the last 3.5 years, especially over the last 2 in a global pandemic, who was fighting for you? Who was fighting for you to make the decision, to give the decision to you whether to go back to work or not? Whether you could go patronize any business that was out there versus the government telling you could not. I was. Stacey Abrams criticized that decision. She wasn't fighting for you and your livelihood. Who was fighting for you to get your kids back in the classroom? We were one of the first states in the country to go back in person. Jefferson City Schools, just north of where we live in Athens, was the first system in the state to do that. CNN, as I call it, CNN. It was great yesterday. We were in Monroe with Governor Christie, former Governor Christie, had a huge crowd. CNN, in the middle of our speech, goes live, and we hear these people talking over there. We're like, who is that? And it was CNN doing a live broadcast. And before I realized it, I was sitting there going, CNN was the first, they were there live in the parking lot, and everybody started laughing, and that was live on TV while they were broadcasting. Our kids need to be in the classroom. We were fighting to do that. We were supporting the educators and working with them and helping them do that. And they were fighting for our kids while Stacey Abrams was fighting against that and siding with the National Teachers Union, which is why they endorsed her and gave her a $1 million campaign contribution. But that should not surprise you, because 90% of her money is coming from outside the state. 90%. Those people in California and New York, like George Soros and other people, they are trying to bring their values to our state with their money through her. They got one problem. They don't vote here. That's right. And she wasn't fighting for us back then. She wasn't fighting for our men and women in law enforcement when she said during civil unrest we need to defund the police. She wasn't fighting for us to keep our community safe when in 2018 she proposed eliminating cash bail. She's not fighting for us by today still being on the boards of organizations like the Margaret Casey Foundation that is raising money and distributing grants to defund the police activists all over the country. Know this, as long as I'm your governor, we will stand with our men and women in law enforcement. We will not let them fight the police.
A
We had the most people ever working in the history of our state. We've had 2 record years in a row for economic development. And I don't have to preach that message here because y'all know it. You think about the companies that have come here, Arubis, the existing industry that you have. It is incredible the opportunities that we are seeing in the CRSA. And that's what we're going to continue to see in this great state if we get the vote out on Tuesday. But look, if we do not, we're going to go the way of California, New York, and Washington, D.C. Because if you remember, Stacey Abrams worked hard to get Joe Biden elected. He gives her credit for it, and she takes it. She auditioned to be his vice presidential candidate. She embraces these policies. They are the ones that she would bring to our state. We wouldn't move off kilter a little bit if we don't turn out Tuesday. It'll be a complete 180, like we're seeing in other states. We cannot allow that to happen, y'all. And look, while Joe Biden promised you he would not raise your taxes and did it anyway, Jody Lott and Barry and Max and a lot of other folks, Mark Newton and others that are not here, we voted to pass the largest state income tax cut in our state's history last year in the middle of a global pandemic. We returned $1 billion of your taxpayer money back to you to put into your pocket to help you deal with high grocery prices and 40-year high inflation caused by Joe Biden and his policies in Washington, D.C. Yesterday, I suspended the gas tax again. We've done that for almost 9 months in a row, saving Georgians $800 million and counting every day at the pump, 29 cents a gallon, to help working families and businesses in our state. Stacey Abrams wants to spend that revenue, that one-time money we have. It's one-time money. It's not going to be there forever. It's not going to keep coming in year after year. She wants to create big government programs. Well, when you create big government programs and one-time money runs out, she's going to do what Joe Biden did to you, Dave. You know what she's going to raise your taxes. She's going to raise your taxes. That is their playbook. While we were cutting taxes. And you put us back up there in January, you put these leaders back up there with me in January, you put William back up there in January, we are going to send you another $1 billion of your money back. Because we had another record year. If Stacey Abrams had been your governor, that one-time money wouldn't be there. She keeps talking about wanting to spend it. If she'd have been governor for 4 years in this state, not me, that money wouldn't be there because we'd have been in perennial lockdown like all these other states would have. We wouldn't be growing the way that we are. We wouldn't have had 2 record years in a row. But you know, because our economy's good and we're growing despite what's happening in Washington, D.C. and a lot of other states, our property values are going up. At least ours are in Athens. I don't know about y'all. But our assessments are going up, which means our property taxes are going up. And those bills are in the mail. I've been getting them myself. And I know that's hurting hard-working Georgians, especially when they're already dealing with Joe Biden's 40-year high inflation and the disaster at the gas pump. So we're going to take an additional $1 billion of excess revenue. We're going to do a one-time property tax relief grant that we believe will save the average Georgia homeowner between 15 and 25% on their tax bill. Again, helping me fight through the 40-year high inflation. Y'all, we cannot do that. We cannot do that if we don't have a big turnout and win big on Tuesday. And listen, if we do that, our whole ticket wins. Our whole ticket wins. Up and down the ballot. You got to go all the way down, but for all the good conservatives and Republicans. If you do that, we're going to win. But listen, another reason we need big turnout from our side is we need to have record turnout in the non-presidential year election. That'll be just like sticking and poking Stacey Abrams and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and those woke corporate CEOs from New York and Chicago that were criticizing the elections bill that we all passed that makes it easy to vote and hard to cheat. It'll take her narrative away, just like Judge Jones did in that lawsuit that she filed shortly after the 2018 race. You lost on every single count from an Obama-appointed federal judge. It cost you and me $6 million of our tax money to defend that bogus lawsuit. You know, it'll poke it in their eye if we have record turnout. And that's what we've been seeing now. Because in Georgia, it's easy to vote and hard to cheat. But don't just assume all of our friends are going to go vote, y'all. In non-presidential years, we have 200,000 to 300,000 of our people that don't vote. They're just like, oh, it's not a presidential election, it's all right, it doesn't matter. It matters.